I've been working on myself. I really try my best to change, but sometimes even love will fade. Right? Maybe we should stay in bed, pretend that everything's the same. Just a little play pretend. Right? But baby, we're changing.
So I'm back from Japan, and obviously you've all watched my Japan series, so I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to watch any of those videos. I got quite a surprise that so many people watched them and enjoyed them, and I got some really nice feedback from people who are heading to Japan or really want to go and visit Japan, so that was really good. But I did notice when I went over there that I didn't get to a lot of the places that I wanted to, even though I had a fully planned itinerary. But there were so many coffee shops that I just missed out on that were in my phone, and I had them stored in the Guides app, if you have an Apple phone. And not to say like Starbucks is on just about every corner in Japan. I've never had a bad coffee from Starbucks, and I guess one of the reasons why to visit a Starbucks in Japan is their seasonal coffees. And when I went over there, obviously it was the Sakura. But yeah, they really hyped themselves up on being amazing at coffee, and I don't think they live that down. There are so many coffee shops to try in Japan, both kind of traditional, where you can get your matcha and hojicha, but if you want a really good coffee, there's so many, I guess, American chains as well, but also Japanese kind of style Western coffee shops, and each one is really different. They will have a different vibe. So I want to talk you through, whilst I make myself a coffee, the main cities that I went to and the coffee shops I got to, and the ones that I missed out on. But if you're planning to go to Japan, definitely save the video, or screen grab any of this. I'm going to show some maps and where to find them. So let's get stuck into Tokyo.
We can cry when it's over. We can cry when it's over. We can cry when it's over. We can cry when it's over.
Okay, let's get straight into it. I don't want to muck around and get through as many as we can. The first one is one that I have been to many times before, but not in Tokyo. And it had actually closed down in Nagoya, where I used to go. But Excelsior Cafe, which is like a Japanese style kind of cafe. They do seasonal drinks, and I think it's just a really chill cafe. It's obviously a chain. This one is in Ginza. I couldn't fit it on the map, but you can literally find them everywhere. The next one is, and you'll find, I'm going to mention this a few times, is Blue Bottle Cafe, and we don't have it in Australia, but it is American. But in Japan, it's just different. Every city I went to, and I'll show you the other ones, there's like a different vibe in each one, and architecturally inside, they're all different. And I think this is why I ventured out and tried to find different ones in Japan, because they're just so different. And the coffee is amazing. And they do have a little bit of food, but most people go for the coffee and obviously the merch. Another American one is Ralph's in Omotesando, which, if you know Ralph, if you just want like something a bit different, you haven't been to the New York one, I definitely recommend hitting that one up. An Aussie one, which is over in Japan, and there is a Ginza one, and one in Omotesando is Bill's Cafe. Obviously I didn't go here because I've already been to the one in Sydney, but if you're up for a little Aussie style breakfast, they have ricotta pancakes and, you know, eggs on toast. Very Aussie kind of breakfast, but have amazing coffee too. So I would definitely recommend checking that one out. This is like the main one I would go to, only because it's very different. And even if you're not a Starbucks fan, you need to hit up the Starbucks Reserve, which is like the like top tier of Starbucks. This is along the Meguro River. If you're in Japan during spring, you would know this river is just like packed, and a perfect spot to see sakura. But this is along the river. It is a massive Starbucks. It is 4 levels. Each level has kind of like a different vibe as well. You can sit outside on a balcony. There's like a tea level where you can get all different kind of teas. There's alcohol. They make cocktails and all sorts of things. But I do recommend going, you know, earlier. Obviously it gets very busy. I think I waited about 20 minutes for a coffee, but they give you a little buzzer and you can just go find a seat and then come down. But it is definitely one to look at. Some other ones that I didn't actually get to is Streamer Coffee, which is in Shibuya, Muji Diner and Cafe. That one I kind of just put on my list because I thought it was something a bit fun. Like, it's a store, but they do like cute little coffee and, you know, meal sets, that kind of thing. White Glass Coffee, which is in Shibuya as well. Kind of known for coffee, cake and sandwiches. I like the look of this place, so I had that down. Kind of near Tokyo Tower, if you're in that area. Passage Coffee, I heard really good things about that. That was obviously on my list. I don't know how to say it in French, but Buvette in Ginza. They do breakfast, lunch and dinner, but I think just the gimmick of having something French in Tokyo, I thought was pretty cool. If you're into vintage shopping, you would head to Shimokitazawa. They have heaps of vintage stores and secondhand. But if you're in that area, I had a couple written down, one called Sunday Brunch and the other The Usual. And obviously the vibes in this kind of area in Tokyo is quite different, so definitely check those out. And another one that's a little further out that I had written down, but had a really good reputation for good coffee. Obviously I like interiors and that kind of thing too, so I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. But Alpha Beta Coffee Club, yeah, check that one out. That's my list for Tokyo. Let's move on to Kyoto. Okay, up next is Kyoto. And obviously after being in Tokyo, I wanted to go to another blue bottle, so I ventured out. There's a couple in Kyoto. I'm gutted that I didn't get to go to, there's a more traditional kind of architecture, like in an old style building. But I did get to one which was a renovated one, which is a hotel now, which used to be an old school. But yeah, really cool vibes and totally different setup again, but really good coffee. Another one is that you have to get to, and it's Starbucks again, but it is in the oldest, and it's like a tiny little house, like obviously like a house that used to be lived in, and it's down the street where you go up to Kiyomizu Temple, so you'll probably pass it, but you need to just, you kind of look up and look for the Starbucks sign. Obviously it does get very busy too, but it is the only Starbucks in Japan that has tatami matting, and it's all very traditional, but obviously just your standard Starbucks, but it's more for the experience. Another one is Cafe Kitsune, which is Japanese but obviously French inspired. It's in this really nice area in Kyoto where you can do a little bit of shopping, and there's this really nice garden area. but obviously they are known for their coffee, and they've got little cakes and sweets and stuff. If you go to Arashiyama to visit the bamboo grove, and along the river, there is Arabica, which is a very popular cafe. Obviously this one you can't sit down at, but it has amazing views of the river. So grab a coffee and go for a walk along the river, which is really good. They obviously have really good coffee, and when I went, as you can see, the queue was huge. So it is very popular. So either get there really early or be prepared to queue. Another one which is only like maybe a 10-minute walk from the river, and it's in this kind of old style housing, and there's a cafe and a bread shop next door, and you can just sit down in, you know, these really nice garden views, and they have lots of sweet breads and savoury breads as well as coffee. But the bread that obviously I found and they promote as being like what they're known for is this square bread. Obviously it's just bread, or you can get different flavoured ones, but yeah, there's a bit of a gimmick with that too, but it was really good. Some others that I didn't actually get to go to but were on my list was Matcha House, which is everything matcha and sweets. Another one I had written down, which is more in the city of Kyoto, which is Walden Woods. I love the aesthetic of this place, and it's very minimal. Yeah, it was one that I just didn't get to, but I will definitely check it out next time I go. Down kind of Gion area. So if you're walking around there, there's this tiny little street, and it's called Cafe Zen, but you can kind of miss it, so keep your eye out. It has really nice, like very minimal, but they serve kind of more traditional sweets and tea. If you're kind of, you know, on your way back to the station, right on the corner near the post office, there is Cafe Veloce. They serve really good coffee. I think it's just more of the locals go and visit this kind of place. Yeah, it's a very convenient spot. Okay, let's get into the next one. Okay, the next two, Osaka and Nagoya. Again, I went to Blue Bottle in Osaka, which is very different again. It's very sensory, I guess. The upstairs area has this like digital screen, like the sky appears. So it's very calm, and people just chill out and have their coffee, and yeah, it's very good. And it's got a nice view too of the city, so definitely check that one out. City Bakery in Umeda. If you haven't been to New York, City Bakery is very well known. They have heaps of sweets and like pastries and bread, but good coffee too. One that I didn't get to was Wad, which is more traditional Japanese tea, and they're known for serving them in more traditional ceramics. And the last one that I wanted to get to in number, called Brooklyn Roasting Company. And the vibes there just look really good, and I saw the reviews, and apparently really good coffee. Lastly is Nagoya. Obviously I've been there multiple times, but actually the first time I'd ever been to Komade Coffee, which after doing some research before I went, realised that it's like a really old chain cafe, and they do, well, Nagoya in general do this morning set, and a lot of cafes do it where you buy a coffee and you only pay for the coffee, but you'll get a piece of bread and like egg and just a little snack on the side, but you only pay for your coffee. So if you're in Nagoya, definitely check out the breakfast sets. But Komade Coffee in Sakai has really cool vibes. It's like all Beatles inspired on the inside, and music. They have a really big menu, but lots of coffee with hot and cold, with serve ice cream on top, and it's really good. You've got to try a real kind of Japanese cafe. Also, I hit up the City Bakery again in Nagoya. Obviously, this is near Noritake, so if you want to visit the gardens there, and they also have an outlet. Another one that I used to hit up a lot when I travelled to Nagoya was St. Mark Cafe, and they do like, it's not coffee, but it's like grape juice, and they have these tiny little croissants, and yeah, they're really good. And a couple of others that I didn't get to go to was Eggs and Things, which is basically coffee and kind of more of a brunch menu, which I guess is quite rare to get in Japan, but they're getting more into like the brunch vibes. And Saturday NYC, obviously it's a clothing brand as well, but they have takeaway coffee and like a small seating area, but if you haven't checked that one out in New York, yeah, they have really nice coffee as well. I hope this has been helpful. Definitely let me know if you visit any of these places. And yeah, hopefully I'll get back to some of these other coffee shops on my next trip to Japan. But yeah, I think that's about it.